Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to my first video of this channel. And for this video today, I've come to this website here called Further. The author is Brian Clark of this post, which I'm about to go through. So all credits to him, and I'll leave a link down below for this website if you'd like to view it yourself. But basically what we're going to go over today is the power of indifference. And I guess you could sum it up as is worded here. People are disturbed not by things, but by their view of things. So the power of indifference relates a lot to our perception of what is going on in our life, our interpretation of it. And by our perception and by our interpretation, that is how we become affected of the things that we are exposed to, okay? So to simply put it, if you view something that's happening in your life as positive, it can affect you in a positive way. If you view it as negative, it can be detrimental to you, right? So you've always got the choice of how you're going to choose to interpret something happening to you. But indifference lies further beyond that. Indifference lies between it even, in that indifference has something to do with the mentality of completely accepting things for what they are. And it comes back to the saying of it is what it is, basically. Okay, so things are neither good nor bad. Indifference sees things, they are just as they are. Okay, so it's kind of being like neutral, responding neutrally to things that happen in your life. And you can imagine the benefit in this concept because it can allow you to regulate your emotions very effectively. Obviously, if we start to have a negative experience happen to us, that could already be stressful. But then if we choose to judge it, like how terrible it is, how bad it is, that's obviously going to make us feel even worse, right? And by generating a bad emotion in us, we generate a stronger, worse thought about the scenario, and etc. And we get into this vicious loop and cycle, okay? Well, the way you can break that cycle is through indifference. You're just going to stay neutral, logical, and rational about what's going on at the time to you, okay? So I'd just like to read a bit of a passage down below just to further unpack this concept. So it's a philosophical concept from the Stoics, and it's a way of being, so a way of living your life, all right? So I've just highlighted this down here because I thought it was pretty telling about what this whole concept is about, just to help you gain a further clarity of this. So I'll read it out to you. The only things we can truly control, the Stoics argue, are our judgments, what we believe about our circumstances. For the Stoics then, our judgments about the world are all that we can control, but also all that we need to control in order to be happy. Tranquility results from replacing our rational judgments with rational ones. This is the power of indifference toward the things outside our control, or in other words, our view of the things. It's not that you don't care in an emotional sense, it's that you're much more in control of your behavior in the face of those emotions. The truth is, indifference really is a power. Selectively applied and living in such a way is not only eminently possible with a conscious adoption of certain attitudes, but also facilitates a freer, more expansive, more adventurous mode of living. Joy and grief are still there, along with all the other emotions, but they are tempered. And in their temperance, they are less tyrannical. Okay, so a few important things to point out in this passage. It speaks of controlling our behavior. We know this is very important in maintaining our composure, right? Because the way we choose to act, that's going to affect the kind of emotions and thoughts we can have, okay? So we start acting a way that's negative. You know, you get upset at something, you throw something, you slam the desk, you're generating emotions which resemble anger, right? And then you can have angry thoughts, and then you can propel that kind of an energy further in yourself. But you know, if we can control our behavior, practice some deep breathing in the moment, focus on gratitude in the moment, that's how we can kind of overcome that and not get sucked into that kind of emotional state, okay? So once again, indifference, you're simply looking to be on the fence about things when they happen. We identify the nature of the thing, what is happening. We're keeping it real in that sense. We know what it is. We're objective, but we're not going to get into the emotional aspect of judging it, because when we do that, that is what brings us down. Okay, so to further illustrate how applying Stoic philosophy would look in certain situations, I've come here to this rage quit compilation video, and we're going to see how some players react to certain circumstances that they face in their game, and we're going to assess how the response impacts them in the game, and then what they could have done better. Keep in mind indifference, right?
I'm pressing 5 and it's not working.
Nope, 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 not doing it, not doing it, not doing it. I didn't press right. When it happened, I was like, why did that happen?
So all jokes aside, these responses are, let's say they're more on the extreme end, and there's something we'd kind of associate with the word tilting, right? Maybe when people tilt, they get into this stage, right? They're not focusing the best they can. They're not as efficient with their thinking patterns, what they got to do in the game. They're not as creative, and then they kind of rage quit and rage forfeit. But what's the consequences of, say, rage quitting like this? I mean, with these people, I mean, they're doing damage to themselves. They're hurting themselves physically, right? By throwing things around and banging things. So they could hurt themselves. And also it can be expensive, can't it? I mean, look, they're smashing their own equipment. So not only is it time consuming to have to set up your own gear again, but it's costly as well. So, this response that they're showing, it's definitely not optimal. It's not effective when you're in these positions in the game. And let alone your success with the game, right? How hard would it be to come back after having this kind of emotional outburst to continue playing on in the game? You know what I mean? And maybe redeem their poor efforts in the game. So you can see the tangent they've gone on is completely, one big emotional outburst, which isn't the best. We never really recommend and advise that. You always want to encourage to keep your composure, right? To stay calm in situations as much as possible and as much as reasonably possible. So how do we do that for people in these situations like these guys here? Well, as we said, we don't want to focus on externals, so with playing a game, for example, when you're versing other people, winning or losing isn't something that's completely in your control, right? Because there's another person there who's also involved in the game who could defeat you. They have their own free will. They're doing their own thing to win. So, if we're going to focus on winning and losing, say in the terms of the instance of the match happening, your overall scores, different kinds of ratios, that stuff for the most part is kind of out of our control, and that can make us very stressed when it's not going our way. If we come back to the internal and focusing what's in our control, such as our skill of the game in the moment, making sure you're playing the right moves, and focusing on maintaining a positive mindset, controlling your behavior, being relaxed, keeping like a relaxed body language during a match, those kinds of things are in our control. If we bring our mind to that, we can stay more calm. But when we start to go external, I mean, worrying about what people are saying, different kind of comments coming our way, when we engage in that kind of judgmental thinking and mentality, we can get very stressed and out of control. And then it can lead us to these points that these guys have gotten here as well. Okay, so this is Stoic philosophy of indifference is quite good for gamers too, and streamers, content creators, all the like. If you're in a game and your opponent's taunting you a lot, you know, you're not going to focus on the taunt or worry about it, because you know that you cannot control the taunt, right? The opponent can taunt as much as they want. So if we're going to stress about that and, why is it like this? I wish it wasn't like that. You know, we're making ourselves powerless to that person. The way to make yourself empowered is simply not caring about it. You're just observing it. You're acknowledging the person is that way, but you're not going to get into wishing they weren't that way or wanting it to be a different way, because when we do that, we're bringing ourselves down energetically. All right, so try your best to practice this concept. It can really be challenging at times. It's something that helps me a lot, you know, my gameplay as a gamer. So I really hope this concept has helped you, and thank you so much for your support and coming onto this channel.